Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm Kynan from Diamond Construct.
And I am Jackson from Pincer.
Yeah, and we're on tour together, and you're watching this video, so that's cool. Thank you.
Enjoy it. So, how's tour been for you so far? First time playing in Perth, wasn't it?
Yeah. So our first Perth show was the other night, and obviously first time meeting you guys as well, which was really cool. We didn't expect anything, and I thought it actually went really, really well. I've like seen Amplifier Bar on like heaps of stories and stuff before, and that was really cool to actually finally be there. But
Yeah.
that's kind of like your stomping ground these days, isn't it?
Yeah, Amplifier has been like such a staple of the like Perth scene for so long, and I guess like so many of the bands that sort of like have come from Perth to make it like I guess kind of like big in Australia and everywhere else, like it's kind of synonymous with like crazy amp shows. So we're running out of venues in Perth, so Amps has sort of like returned to being like the main kind of thing. But it was cool to see so many people there on that night, and it's not that often that it gets sold out either.
Oh
So
yeah, right.
that was sick. And
Have you
yeah,
played next door at the Magnet House or whatever?
yeah. So we did Void of Vision. I think we played with them, and yeah, they played Magnet House, and that was sick. That was my first time playing Magnet House actually.
Yeah,
And
right.
yeah, that was real,
I
real,
I
real
had no
cool.
idea that the venues were like connected. That
Yeah,
was pretty cool.
no, they do this thing. It's like obviously like after we finish playing, like they open the doors to the nightclub, and all the people from the nightclub sort of like come through, which makes loadout hell fun.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, no, it's cool. It will be like I think until it gets like knocked down or whatever, like sort of the mainstay of
yeah,
the
yeah.
heavy music scene in Perth at least. But
Yeah,
no,
definitely. I saw a lot of people like screaming your lyrics and stuff already like there. So I think like you guys had like a lot of fans there, which was
yeah,
really cool to see.
that was cool. Like, and I didn't expect it really like coming over here because obviously it's our first time playing anywhere outside of Perth. But even last night, there were people in the crowd. Like, I saw screaming the lyrics, and I was like, "Damn,
Yeah,
that's fun."
that's sick.
Nah, I'm
Melbourne's
looking
always
forward to
good
it.
like that, I reckon. It's kind of like you just get like a good mix of people that are into like every sort of band. And I think like because this tour, you guys would probably see this as well. Like all the bands kind of sound in a similar world, even though we're sort of like in different genres or subgenres or whatever
Yeah,
you want to get into it. But it's cool. So like all the fans are there for every single band I'm noticing each night,
no,
which is mad.
it's really really cool, and like especially like going to Adelaide and stuff. I was kind of thinking like, oh, are people even going to be there for the first band? But they were.
Yeah.
And that's hell cool. Like, I guess one thing that I guess playing just even kind of like in Perth a little bit, there's not so much of that. Like, people tend to come out like a bit later.
Yeah, just feel like what like the main support or
Exactly,
headline sort of
exactly.
thing.
So I was kind of like iffy in my mind about that, like for the rest of this tour. But man, like Adelaide and Melbourne last night would like they showed up early as,
Yeah,
and
that's good.
it's
Yeah.
sick. Like it always helps, like playing to a room full of people, whether they're like moving around or not, just seeing like a sea of faces is awesome. It's like, when you get into like playing in a band and stuff, it's like you you dream of that sort of stuff,
Yeah,
playing in like a big
100%.
full room.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's kind of been cool. And to like I guess have the opportunity to do it with like such a legendary band in this sort of genre in like
Like
Emmure.
Emmure you're talking about.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's super cool. But
That's
yeah,
yeah, that's nuts. Like they're so tight as well.
they're
Like
crazy, man.
watching their sound check each night. Like they literally don't even like test their tone out or anything. Like they just press play on their like rig setup and they're just locked in from the get-go. Hey,
Yeah,
it's like,
tight as
fuck,
man.
we got a long way to go.
It's like if you want to start filling out these rooms and getting people moving, it's
Yeah,
like that's what you got to be doing.
that 100%, dude.
But no, everyone on this tour is killing it. Hey, like watching you guys last night was so entertaining.
That's
You
mad.
you know how to work a crowd, man. It's sick.
Oh no, still getting there, bros. I found myself doing like some Frankie moves last night, like unintentionally. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta stop doing that, like the little hand things and stuff. I'm like, can't be jacking his steez, you
He
know?
does these mad little like crouch dips and stuff. Like, he would like
Yeah.
spin around and just like hit the floor and get back up. I'm like,
It's super
damn.
interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's cool as though.
Yeah.
They don't have any like I noticed they don't have any like the monitors on the stage, so they've just got like all of the room to move around, and Frankie goes nuts. But
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
crowd hell responded to it.
Have you noticed they don't have the pedal boards like set to the front of the stage or anything
Nah,
either?
it's like all clear sailing
Yeah, yeah.
for
So
them.
like the vocalist can kind of just like sweep across the front, which is
Yeah.
really, really good. I might start talking to the boys about doing that. So
I talked to our boys about doing
yeah,
that
you
last
want
night.
as much real estate as
Yeah,
possible.
with the amps showing like the back of my mind still, because that was like we had to play in front
Yeah, and
for that.
you guys got like there's five, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had an extra person like in front of the drum kit. So yeah, it would have been even less room for you guys than there was for us or like
Yeah.
Emmure.
I ended up getting down into the crowd and doing a bit like on the floor kind of thing. That was cool.
Yeah,
And
the
then
floor
people,
show's sick.
yeah, people started swinging legs and stuff, and it's like, get out of here.
Do you mosh? Like, are you like, would you a mosh kid?
Nah, I like it's weird, man. Like, I'm in mosh retirement, but I'm a metal kid, so
Yeah.
like I only grew up knowing push pits, and that's like not the thing that flies here, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
or like, yeah, maybe for like, a lot of the crowd or whatever, but like, playing in these kind of bands for so long, like, just like there's like certain pit etiquette
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
have to have.
yeah.
Whereas like with like just straight up like metal, death metal, whatever, like there's none of that
Yeah.
at all. It's all just
And I
like,
feel like your band, like watching you guys each night, it's like kind of got that real violent sound as well. So like,
yeah,
do you guys ever have to watch that where like the crowd is going too crazy for you guys, like
uh,
especially at a
I
home show
I
or
encourage it, man. It's
yeah,
sick. It's something super like, what's the word? It's like rewarding about watching people go nuts to your stuff,
yeah,
you
100%.
know. And it's the same thing as like, when you look out and there's someone in the crowd like looking at you like screaming the lyrics that are coming out of your mouth. You're like, man, you're really digging on that thing that I did.
Yeah, it's
Like,
fat.
that's fucking cool.
It is cool. Yeah, so going off the fact of like, the kind of like the differences of the crowd sort of movement, whether it's like the violent kind of pits or the kind of, the push pits like you were saying.
Yeah.
How does that like sort of translate with what you sort of want to write or like the process with that? Like, do you have that in mind or is that something that just comes out naturally with your
Yeah.
band?
Well, I mean, like writing wise, at least like from my point of view, because it's just mostly like lyrics or like vocal patterns kind of thing. Like, what I think of like when I'm trying to write lyrics to the music is like, making things stand out so that things like crowd interaction can
Yeah.
be at its max or at its best kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
there's always that one pit call where like everyone knows the word, and
Yeah.
like it's kind of the thing where the band can just drop out and the crowd can scream it back to you. I love thinking about that kind of stuff,
Like
like
in the writing
writing.
stage, yeah,
So it's
for
like,
sure.
use something simple but effective, make it rhythmically interesting. So it's not just like, gritting and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
um,
So
yeah.
you write all the lyrics and the vocal phrasing and stuff as well, or do
Well,
some of the
with
boys help you out with that? Or
the first two EPs, like Josh wrote pretty much most of it,
yeah,
like
yeah,
down, because when I joined this band, like he'd had it already. He was just looking for members to do it,
so it
kind
was
of
all
thing.
like all ready to launch kind of
Pretty
thing, and
much, yeah. But like since then, like, we're starting to work on new stuff now, and like, given he's given like creative control, like, where it's needed kind of thing. So um
do you feel as well like I mean this is interesting for myself to know, like not even just the fans of Pincer, but when you all have started to work together now and you said you like working on new music, is that something that like you feel is awesome that you can get your character involved in like the full project, like as five dudes, not just like
yeah,
someone who's already like got the project ready to launch?
absolutely. Because like with that, like having the project ready to launch and having it be like Josh and stuff with like, the hype that's kind of followed him, there was like a little tinge of kind of imposter syndrome, because like we before the band even launched, we were like with Greyscale, and
Yeah, yeah.
like that's just not.
That's pretty gnarly. Yeah.
It's what people like dream of doing,
Yeah.
and it was kind of nuts. But now that it's kind of a bit more of like a communal effort,
Yeah.
that's gone like well away now. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like keen to sort of just grab it with both hands and see what we can do and like keep it going. You guys got an album on the way.
Yeah, yeah. April 26th we'll drop that thing. Been working on it for like 3 years, bro. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
it's
because you
insane.
guys are all in different parts of Australia. Like
Yeah.
how do you make
Oh,
that work with like writing and finalizing songs and stuff like that?
not well. No. Well, Braids and I like write the music together, like the guitarist. And we're brothers, so we've always just worked on stuff together, and that's been easy.
Yeah,
But the hard part about like living so far away from, say, Alex or Liam now is just kind of getting together and kind of updating each other on like what demos we want to use, or
yeah,
because Liam likes to write his own drum parts as well now, which
yeah,
is
for
good.
sure.
So he wants to have like his stamp on everything. Um, but otherwise, like it all kind of works. I mean, like we just have the Dropbox folder. I'm sure it's the same for you guys, and
Yeah.
you just upload, 50 demos or whatever, and everyone just picks like their favorite riffs or their favorite demos to kind of work on. And
So do you like because obviously like you like working with like the guitar player who comes up with like the chunk of the riffs and stuff like that. Are you sort of like um basing things off stuff that you want to do vocally, or is it more like that riff sounds sick, you should do something like this and then build the song and then think about vocals after? Or are
yeah.
you kind of like, you know, integrating vocal ideas sort of like as the writing process goes along?
So we work really, really weird. I don't know if like many people sort of do it. I guess everyone has like their own way of doing stuff, but Braids and I like, well, we both play guitar.
Yeah,
Our
sick.
dad's a guitar teacher. Like he taught us how to play. So Braids and I will write a song like each kind of thing. It's kind of like 50-50. So I think on the album that's coming out, it's 11 tracks. I think he wrote six, I wrote five or something. But
That's sick.
it's kind of like I'll give him my songs and I've worked on his pedal board and like just written the riffs and then vice versa. Like we don't change each other's riffs or anything.
Yeah.
But we sort of do it in our voice notes. Like it sounds really whack. I can show you them later. I'm not going to show you now, but we kind of just like mouth these weird like riffs into our phone, and that's how the song kind of starts.
That's cool as.
And then we both kind of like, if it's his song, he'll have like a vocal hook or an idea of something just mumbling into the phone of like some stupid stuff. And then we kind of bounce ideas off each other like that.
Man,
So
that's cool. Do you like when you release a song or when it's like all finished and you finally like the videos out, like people are getting into it and stuff, like do you ever go back to the voice note where it
yeah,
originated and go like,
yeah,
damn, that's whack?
I do. So the one that we just dropped, like Switchblade, like just before this tour started, it's funny, like I came up, like that was the last song written for the album that we just did. And I actually had a voice recording that I went back and listened to, and it's super funny. So I work at Woolworths, right? I like
Yeah.
work in night fill, and it's like the cringiest job, but I was literally working on a pallet, like filling stock, and I was like mouthing this entire verse and the chorus into my phone. And I did it probably about 4 or 5 times as I came up with more lyrics for like the part, but you can hear like people shopping in the background and stuff. It's super weird.
Hey man, it's
And
got
I'm just doing the most cringe vocals, like, you can't fuck with me. Like, what do you mean, bro? You work at Woolworths.
uh it's like you got like the alter ego of like being on stage and then just
Yeah.
like working in Woolies.
Yeah, that's
Man,
it. It's like a stage character.
it's sick though. Like everything's got to come from somewhere, and like it, even if it like, dude, I have like all my best riff ideas are at work and it pisses me off that I don't have
Yeah.
like a guitar available or whatever. So I got to like, I can't do the vocal thing, the voice note thing, because like I could listen back to it like half an hour later and be like, what the fuck was I getting out with
Yeah.
this? So
Yeah.
like I got to try and like consciously remember
Sort of like
my
visualize the
ideas.
guitar neck sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
either that or like, like think of like a drum pattern or whatever else. And I got to like I was like, all right, I've got to keep this on loop in my brain until I get home, and then
Oh,
just
that's the worst.
smash it out
And
quickly before I forget. Like,
it's never the same, hey,
no,
as
it's
when
never the
you have
same.
the original idea.
It's cool though, like what you were saying before about like, like people writing their own parts and stuff. Like that's what's really cool because like you can come up with something original, right, and like demo it out or whatever else. But like, I feel like once other people get involved, it's like another brain full of good ideas that
Yeah,
come into it, kind of thing. So
yeah,
yeah, not everything stays the same, but like in most cases, I seem to find like when things do change, when you do involve like other people in it, like it usually ends up being something like pretty sick.
and it's also more unique as well, I think, when you do it like that, because
Totally.
I guess every idea that like anyone comes up with is stemmed from some sort of influence or whatever. And if you have five different kind of influence pools coming into like a song, it's going to make that completely unique. That chemistry is not going to be found anywhere else in any other band.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
Hey. And like, it's cool for everyone else as well. Cause like, then when you get up and you go play it on stage, it's like, I feel like everyone enjoys doing it rather than
Yeah, yeah.
like, oh, I'm just
Playing someone
playing
else's.
this song that someone else like wrote the parts for or whatever. It's like, you feel a bit more involved, which like essentially is what like the essence of being in a band, I think, like should be at its core.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
It's like a way for people to express themselves.
What's your go-to, say, top three songs for you guys that like general consensus, like when you get off stage and you're like, this one always goes hard. Like,
Uh it's funny because like we do play like our guess what the songs that we have like the biggest numbers on or whatever last. So I guess on paper they'd be classed as like our biggest songs. But I really love like the first three that we play. So like it's like Ugly on the Skin, Heart of Glass, and Romance. Those are like my favorite just because like they've got hell good flow to them.
yeah,
They got good dropouts, breakdowns, all that kind of stuff. And like the vocals, like the lyrics I find I can get like
get into it
really
more.
into and just be like hell vicious with.
Yeah, you sound pretty tough on stage. Hey,
Thanks, man.
it's
So you.
crazy.
It's sick.
You're a beast.
Thanks, man. what about you though? Like, is
Oh,
you guys have got like a little bit of a different approach to it from us. Like I feel like your music, rather than being like a roundhouse kick to the face kind of thing, it's like real dynamic and it's sick to
yeah,
watch.
yeah, thank you. I guess like, well, our favorite band is like kind of collectively, it would be like Korn and Emmure and stuff like that, obviously, which is why this tour is awesome because I'm sure that kind of resonates in the sound. But for us, like, because we've got a little bit of like the catalog spanning back to when, we started the band, we're playing, I think the oldest song we're playing is like the first track off our self-titled, which came out, I think it was 2019, but it would have been written maybe like 2017 or something.
Damn.
So it's kind of weird. We kind of have like all these different eras of when we were starting out or like playing like shows to like 20 people or whatever, and then 50, maybe 100. So it's always changing for us, but I think collectively we always know Hit It Back goes well live.
Yeah.
I mean, like even if there's some people in the crowd that love it or hate it or whatever, it's very polarizing, and we kind of like that.
Yeah, that's
That
cool.
it's like we don't really care like what you think, like we're just doing our thing.
Yeah, you guys are the ones up there doing it, man. Like,
Yeah,
and if you're into it at the end of the day,
that's it. Yeah, so that one, it feels good to play. So we're playing like a unreleased one as well, live, and it's really good to see that like people are kind of bouncing around and bopping to that one. So I think that's going to be a really good staple.
sick.
But yeah, I think the general consensus is kind of like I think Hit It Back is pretty much everyone's kind of favorite moment to play because it's real easy as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, Braden's not stressing about like playing that riff. I'm sure he is a little bit, but it's easier than some of the other riffs. And it's probably one note on bass for Alex. When there's notes, there's one. So yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
that would be the
nice.
vibe. Jinx has been good to play. We play that one first now. We're trying to like really swap it up with our order of songs. Do you guys do that as well?
Nah, not really. Like we tend to decide on stuff like, say if we've got like a show coming up, we'll talk about like how we want to order the set list or whatever. So for like this tour, um, because obviously we run like the samples and stuff at the start. We were tossing up like what to open with, because we've got a couple of songs that we have just started playing like in the set list now, and we really wanted to do it so that like it would start off with like a huge bang, but
Yeah,
yeah,
of course. Yeah.
we ended up just being like, all right, well, we'll open with Ugly on Skin because it's like short, it's effective, it's a good start kind of thing, and it's just good for like warming yourself up, getting into the set
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, I
thing.
see what you mean. Like you don't want to start with like the craziest hard song for you to perform or something.
Totally, man. Because like, well, I don't know about you, but like, I like, I'm not like a proper like vocalist by like,
Hey, either, bro, don't
thing.
worry. I think
I
that's like a
usually I play
metaphor
guitar,
thing.
man. So
Yeah,
like, I'm terrified of gassing out
yeah,
like after like the first like three or whatever songs because like I want to have like consistent vocal
yeah, yeah.
performance throughout the whole thing. So I think yeah, choosing that, getting like hell into it in one song, it just like allows you to have that kind of longevity
Yeah,
throughout the
yeah.
set.
I totally like I get exactly what you're saying. Like you heard me like yesterday I came up to you and I was like, I'm really worried like how I'm gonna sound. So obviously like you're probably hearing this now on this YouTube thing, like I sound a bit raspy. Like it's
You sounded fucking sick last night, by the
oh
way.
no,
Like monster, dude.
cheers, man. Like I stress until about like a minute before the set and then I'm like, fuck it, it is what it is. If I sound like a goat or two rocks scraping together, it is what it is. I got can't do anything about it now, but
All that matters is that people in the crowd will get into it either way. Yeah,
yeah.
like they'll
Uh,
love it.
That's sick. How do you like what sort of technique do you do? Like this is getting a bit technical now for people who don't really understand vocal techniques and stuff. So obviously there's like fry vocal, which is
Yeah.
like kind of like some quiet vocals that you hear people do, but you all sound like pretty loud. Like are you doing like false
Yeah.
chords or are you yelling or
No, yeah, I'm a false chord guy. Like for the deeper sort of guttural stuff,
yeah.
definitely false chord. But I've had to sort of like, since like starting in this band, I've had to like develop an entire new style that I've just tried to like work out and work out and work out. And like, I think like,
Is
yeah,
that to like suit the music or just because you want to
100%.
change it up?
Yeah, because I don't like I want it to sound like violent and mad kind of thing without being like death metally sort of thing, like I
Yeah.
want to sound pissed off. So it's a mixture of like yelling and like a little bit of like I guess like fry techniques. I try and hit like that kind of high
Yeah,
note to
yeah,
get
yeah.
that
Yeah.
like distorted, like overtone kind of thing. So
It's funny that you say that because so many people like when I try and explain like the vocal techniques to other people, like exactly what you're saying now, they probably think like, well, you can't blend a fry and a yell together or whatever, but like you actually can. Like
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
I do as well. It's kind of like false chord with a yell, but then a fry just like sprinkled on the top.
And it's so weird, like when people are like, "Oh, how do you do that?" It's like you have to just go and do it, man. Like
Yeah.
I can tell you like how I did it, but it's going to be different for everyone. Like
Yeah.
vocals is one of those things where it's like you can teach people certain things about it or whatever. It's like you just got to
You gotta find it
get out and
yourself.
do it then.
When was the first time like you got in the car or you're at home or whatever and you figured out how to do like a scream?
Actually, like it wasn't in the car, but I do have a funny car story. The first time I tried to do like a high scream and I'd done like zero brutal vocals before. Went to do like this massive high scream, so I was like hell feeling it or whatever. Started coughing
Yeah.
my guts up in the car and just like yacked all in my own lap.
You're kidding.
it
Holy,
was it was fucked, but it's so funny because it's like
that's crazy.
obviously did it wrong. And
Yeah.
now like, I'm doing this, but yeah. First time I ever like learned how to properly do it, like I was in a rehearsal with like one of my other bands, and I just decided like fuck it, I'm just gonna do vocals, and I want to sound this way. I'd never practiced it or whatever before.
Really, what you just rocked up at
Just
band
yeah,
practice and you're
and
like, I don't really know how to do it, but I'll
I
give it a go.
I don't know what happened, but like just like fully just was zened into it, I guess. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it just felt natural kind of thing. So
That's sick.
yeah, I mean, obviously pretty grateful for that. Um, and then yeah, since then it's been like a constant thing. But I don't think that you probably wouldn't have had like a car yak to get into vocals, right?
I didn't have a car yet, but I definitely had plenty of moments where I was trying to learn how to scream. I think I chucked on back in those days. I mean, it was like the albums that were out were, I think it was like Lost Together by
Yeah.
Architects, Singularity by Northlane. And I kind of like, obviously, the guys in the band were listening to those records and I wanted to sort of produce a scream.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like annoyed back then because I couldn't do any screams, but like Braids could scream. And it annoyed me that he knew how to scream, but he wasn't like going to be the vocalist of the band or whatever. And
Yeah.
we had no one to like do the vocals in the band. We come from a small town. Like there's probably a handful of people and they're all on Centrelink. They're not like in a band.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it took me like it might have been like 2 or 3 months, like just an hour a day, just in the car, kind of like learning how to
So
do it.
properly putting yourself through like the practice of it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And then it got to a point where I could at least play a show, but it was bad. It wouldn't have been good. Do you still play guitar?
Oh, all the time, man.
Yeah, yeah.
All the time, every day.
Like sweep
Yes.
picking and everything.
Yeah.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah. I love it.
Holy,
I love it, man.
you'd probably be the best guitarist on this tour then. Out of all the
Oh,
bands, if you can sweep pick and shred.
I don't know. Nah. It was weird though, because like usually I'm hell used to going on tour with like a guitar or something like that. I got into the Uber with just a backpack. I was like, this is sick.
Yeah,
Get used to this.
yeah, yeah, for sure. 100%. How weird is it how you rock up to the show with like no gear or whatever?
Dude, it's great. And I make all these guys load my stuff in because I'm like, I've done my time. It's my time to relax now. You know, said like Architects and Northlane when you were getting into vocals. Have you like diversified since then? So like on your new album, have you got any moments where like maybe you're experimenting with something that you've never done before or
Yeah,
like
100%. Like obviously back in the day when I was like a teenager and listening to those kind of bands, it was all just metalcore,
yeah,
gent, all that sort of stuff. So, you know, producing like your false chord vocal. But like in the last couple of years and on this record particularly, I've been listening to a lot of people like Ghostman and Scarlord and
yeah,
a lot more of the rap based stuff, like with some of like the trap vocals.
yeah.
So implementing a lot of that into a lot of the songs. But in terms of screaming techniques, I'd say I'm trying like a few different things with some of the higher vocals, like the dirty sounding like the ones, like a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah.
more as well. I think they have like a place like in our sound now, which they never
Totally.
used to. So
You got like it's a similar thing for like I guess like you guys 1056 and Emmure like got like parts where you sort of like I guess like talk it
yeah,
out kind of thing. Um, which is like awesome to watch because like it like I was saying before about like watching your performance live where it's like dynamic,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you got those parts where you sort of like get low down to the ground and like it's a little bit like ominous almost.
yeah, like that little bit more intimate or whatever. For the
Yeah,
front
yeah,
row.
and you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
it's sort of like more like talking rather than screaming because it's like, man, I know that guy's gonna like he's gonna jump up in a second, fucking just like, oh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's cool to watch. Like uh, have you sort of like tried to expand on like that side of it as well, like
Definitely,
in the
especially in
new?
the writing process.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. I think any Diamond Construct song pretty much follows the same sort of like structure. Well, most of them do. And we have like sort of names. I'm sure it's the same with you guys. Like you'd have names for your sections, right?
yeah.
You might be like, oh, this is like the
Well,
hook or the verse or like how do you
yeah,
like what are your sort of terminology for that?
that part.
That part, that part? Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Nah, we tend to just go like because our songs are quite simple in their structure. So you can usually bring it back to like, oh, let's just go from the intro or like, you know, the second riff or the third riff or whatever. Cause like
Yeah, yeah.
we don't have super long songs. So that kind of makes it easy in that regard. Um
Yeah, that's
yeah,
sick. Yeah, okay. Because yeah, well, with our stuff, I guess it's kind of like we always have your main hook, which is like your main verse. So
yeah,
Psychosis, it's usually like a pedal riff or something, or hit it back. It's the bam, wee, now,
yeah,
wee, like so we have kind of like the main thing, and then it will go into like a verse. The chorus will be like the main riff just with vocals. But then I guess what you're saying there is the dynamics kind of thing. We always come up with like, well, it needs to go down now before like you take it right up to like the top
Yeah.
for Diamond Construct. We kind of follow the same thing that Korn did back in the day, I guess, with like Freak on the Leash or something, where you strip it right back. You've just got the one guitar layer and like a vocal, and
Yeah.
then you kind of go a bit nutty or whatever. So I
That's
guess
cool.
that's kind of like every Diamond Construct song now that I've said that,
It's
you'd be able
sick.
to see it.
It's sick though. It allows you to like, not just vocally, but like with your like guitars and your drums and your instrumentation and stuff. Like, you go from one extreme to the other. It allows you to cover like a lot of ground and like play around with a lot of new stuff as well, which will like,
Yeah, for sure.
and if you're saying like, like your songs tend to follow like a very similar structure, like you can like there's so many different ways of exploring
Yeah.
doing that. And that I think is like really, really cool. Like when bands can find a sort of like, I guess like not so much like a niche, but like their thing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
for sure.
do it in like, express it in like
Yeah.
different ways, different sounds, different sections. Like,
Like speaking about like niches and something different, I think what would be like really cool, like as an idea, like I don't know, I'm just spitballing now that we're getting talking, but have you ever thought about like playing guitar live in like one song or something?
we have talked about that actually, hey,
Because that would be
because
fat. Like you just rip this sick riff and you're like,
yeah, no, we have talked about that. Like, I remember there's been like a few ideas thrown around because like Josh, like our guitarist, sings for like a little bit of the
yeah,
song,
yeah.
I think.
I think it's like one of the choruses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's like kind of like the focal point of that song, which is cool. So we were talking about like maybe doing like a song where I go on guitar and he sings or whatever else. And I'm always like, well, yeah, I think that's cool as hell because like when 1056 like last night.
You saw how like they swapped.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
that was hell sick. Like,
that was hard.
yeah, but like, if you think about bands like, I don't know, like back in way back when and stuff, like they do the instrument changes for like a laugh or like to get the crowd into it or whatever else. But I was like, man, I think that's actually hell sick.
Yeah.
When like you swap around, it makes you look at that band and go like, God, they're like hell talented. They must be hell talented or whatever
And
else. But
I guess it creates like a bit of interest too, like
yeah,
especially
100%.
if like, bands of like I guess our sort of level where we don't have massive production, $200,000 lighting setups and all that sort of stuff. Like you kind of need to keep it interesting, and
Yeah.
like those sort of things are like good ways to make people just not stand there and kind of look through you, but like look at what you're doing.
And I could hell like go for a vocal break in the middle of the set too. I think that would be great.
100%.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
Just put it all on the tracks.
Josh, you're not here, but if you're watching, I'm down. Let's please do that. Being like the vocalist, like for me, I guess, like because I've like we've both come up like playing guitar, I guess. So there's been like that side of, it's not really a song until we pick this up and make a noise kind of thing. There's always just been this like kind of, I guess, subtle expectation that the vocalist just comes in and does the vocals sort of thing.
Yeah,
Where I
yeah,
think
yeah,
getting them involved in like the actual, composition of the song, whether it be like guitar wise or whatever else, like it'll end up being like a lot more effective, I guess,
yeah, I
for
agree.
everyone
Yeah.
like doing that. And I think that's kind of cool. Like, I like an environment where everyone has a say
Yeah,
in
for
things,
sure.
like very
Yeah.
like democratic, because like we were saying before, um, if everyone gets up there and digs what they're doing and is like invested in it, like obviously it's going to be like 10 times better.
Yeah. I think it's a lot more common these days for vocalists to be like the multi-instrumental kind of thing. I think gone are the days where, the vocalist just is like the no good sort of character in the band. They don't load in, they don't touch anyone's stuff. They're
Yeah,
just pretty much
the
just
rogue
shit.
member.
Yeah,
Like,
the rogue guy that everyone's just like, can't wait to kick this guy out and get someone better. I think that's like kind of gone now. And I think in every band, like not just on vocals though, but pretty much every instrument that people play, like they've got to have some sort of idea or a role in the band. Like
100%.
you look at a band, like any band, and you'd be able to pick someone, like even like, I guess Josh in your band, he's got a camera, he takes photos of bands or something like that. Like everyone's got sort of a role,
Yeah.
or like you look at Alpha Wolf, you got Sabian, he's like the social media like guru.
Yeah,
You know, it's probably the same in your band, our band, every band now. It's kind of like everyone needs to be like on point with everything, or at least two or three things.
absolutely. And like even like outside of the songwriting thing, because there's so many different things involved in being in a band nowadays.
Yeah,
It's not just playing the music. You know, you got to, in lots of cases, you know, take care of your own media, like promo, manage to
yeah,
some extent. Like there's a lot of different hats to wear, but at the end of the day, like it all comes back to the music kind of thing. And I think the more involved everyone gets in it, like the better it ends up being, you know,
yeah.
like
It's like
the,
growing your team with like
totally, totally.
not many people or whatever. It's like
And you
who
know
can
what,
do
man?
this.
If that's a trend that's going on, like I'm all for it
100%. Yeah,
because, you know, I like seeing people like showcase what they're talented at. And in like watching like a good band that does it really well, and like, you know, you can tell like when you start watching bands, like, man, these guys know what they're doing.
yeah, for sure. So
And
like going off that, like I guess a question that I wanted to ask you guys as well. Obviously, this is your like first proper tour as Pincer Plus, right?
yeah,
And like hitting the East Coast now and stuff. And it's a pretty sick tour to like be offered like first up, obviously with like Emmure and 1056,
mad.
right?
It is
That
mad.
is huge. So like I guess like are you guys sort of learning like as like obviously you're very like talented musicians and been in bands and stuff like in your own rights, but like as Pinter Plus, like are you guys learning off of Muir, or are you learning off their TMs, or like what sort
It,
of stuff are you learning on the tour?
it's I don't know if I can speak on behalf of like the whole band because like there are a couple of us where this is like the first tour ever kind of thing, you know. Um, and then like Ben and Josh have like done a bit of touring before. Like I've fucking toured like heaps, so I kind of like know like what's expected, kind of thing. Like know the quote unquote unspoken ground rules or whatever else,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
all that kind of thing. So what is interesting is learning it from an Australian tour of this size, kind of thing, because like it's a big tour with big shows in big rooms and everything. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you see the amount of stuff that gets taken in and out of the like
yeah.
place every single day. Um, so I guess just like going with the flow more or less and just, you know, doing what we can to like, you know, help all the other bands out and, you know, also look after ourselves and all that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like there's always things to be like learned, but for, I feel like for us at the moment, like, you know, it's a lot about like enjoying it
Yeah,
as well.
just taking it all in, sort of
Totally.
thing.
Because you don't want to like go out on something like this and be like a ball of stress the entire time. You want to be able to like really enjoy it. And yeah, I think the guys that haven't really toured before, um, I think this is like a real good. I mean, if this was my first ever tour, I'd be fucking raps, dude.
That yeah,
Like,
that you just like skip all the shit stages and go straight to that. Like that is
yeah,
crazy.
it's like me and that guy like taking like 5 steps up.
Yeah,
But and like honestly, like any way you do it is going to be a good learning experience for
yeah,
sure. But obviously, like this kind of thing is what a lot of people start out and aim for
yeah,
to get to at some point. So like there is a lot of stuff to be learned, and there's really good people to learn from, like on this tour. So I
100%.
think we're doing. You guys have been with Grayscale for a while now.
I think it's like 5 years or something, maybe longer. I think it might have been 2018, halfway through. So that's almost 6 years now,
Yeah,
yeah, or whatever it is now. Which is
yeah.
yeah, that's crazy.
Obviously there's like a lot of talent on the label as well. Like they've done heaps for like bands here in Australia and bringing them up and stuff. Like I guess like do you have like favorite bands on the label, bands that you listen to regularly that you haven't played with that you would love to play with? Or like a
Um,
dream lineup or whatever that you'd have of like
yeah.
just of Grayscale bands, like if there was like a Grayscale fest or whatever else that was like touring.
I mean, that would be a pretty sick tour to start with.
Yeah.
I guess from like going back to when we first got signed, I think there was only a handful of bands on the label. So it would have been like Justice for the Damned, Alpha Wolf, I think Gravemind or something, and like us. There might have been like 5 or 6 bands. I can't even remember now, but
Yeah.
not many, like not heaps. But it's good to see like the roster like grow and grow, like with all these sick bands, and now there's international bands being signed, and
That's so cool, I
yeah,
think. That's
with all that
totally
sort of
sick.
stuff. So I'd have to say like a dream like kind of lineup would be at the this year would be like maybe to try and tour with some like international bands that we've never sort of met before or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean like we've done a couple of tours with Make Them Suffer and Alpha Wolf before, and obviously like we're really good friends with like Sabian and Scotty and stuff from Alpha. So that any show that we get to play with those guys is kind of just like feels comfortable
Yeah.
as well because they're our mates. But what about yourself? Like, because obviously coming into this now, the Greyscale family, like it's a big roster, and there's probably a lot of bands that like you haven't played with just yet or never met.
100%, man. Like we were lucky enough that our first ever show was with Justice. And like me personally, I love that band. Like I've loved them
Yeah,
for ages and ages. So like anytime like I guess getting to play with them, I am incredibly grateful for. But it's a different it's weird because like I can take sort of like two different routes with this. It's like I can choose bands that I think are good for Pincer to tour with, like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
sound wise, and
yeah,
then there's just bands that I just love listening to, like personally. So for me, like I'm good mates with the Melancholia boys.
yep.
Like I've known them for like quite a while. I used to be in a band with Alex, like in Noir, like that old thing. But seeing them take off, like I'm so stoked for them. But I also froth their fucking music. I
That's sick.
think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
so sick and like a bit more of the like sort of like metal side of things, which like I love.
yeah. They're
So
pretty metal. Hey, yeah.
yeah, but like them, Justice,
I feel like
um,
you guys would go super well on a Justice tour lineup. Like if you
yeah,
guys were main support for like maybe a national of theirs.
yeah, I'd love to do it, man, honestly, because like I think it would be really fun, but also like the crowd that they
Yeah,
like their kind of crowd, I think would like dig on our music pretty hard
100%.
too.
Funny, like we met Bobak on our, I think it was our very first show. We put it on ourselves in our hometown, Taree. There would have been like maybe 120 people there. We'd never met the band before. I think we messaged them on Facebook back when messaging bands on Facebook was a thing. And anyway, somehow we convinced them to come and play. I think they headlined. So we met them probably in like 2014, like the end of it when we just started the band or something.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's crazy to think like how far they've come, and obviously like DC as well or whatever. And Boback sort of sorts out our merch and stuff. So it's like it's cool. It's like a Grayscale is like a small like family, but it goes like so deep.
yeah,
You know, like the people that like
yeah, that's
get to
really
meet
cool.
each other and work together for long periods of time.
Yeah, starting back like all the way back then, like look at you guys now, you know.
Ah, one step.
Yeah,
Top
well,
10. Yeah, yeah.
but still, it's cool. Like, obviously the amount of talent on the roster is like, showcased by what the bands are doing right now. Like, Justice are all over the place doing like Europe, America. Melancholy is about to go over to Europe.
Yeah.
Make Them Suffer, uh, doing everything everywhere all the time.
Pale Dusk is getting everything.
Huge, man.
Awesome to see.
Like Alpha Wolf, like,
Yeah,
pulling together
that'll be the
Cult
next
Fest, like,
that'll be the next Parkway Drive, bro. Like I've no
dude,
doubt.
100% backed, 100% backed.
Yeah,
And like, you know what? Bands like that deserve it because like they've
yeah,
been pounding pavement for so long. Like being a band in Australia, you have to work hard,
yeah,
like real hard. So seeing bands get results like that is, you know, amazing. I can't not be happy for people, or like seeing
100%.
people
Yeah,
like kick those
yeah,
goals.
yeah,
And
and
it's
it's good to
motivating,
see.
man.
Yeah, it
Motivating
is.
as hell because it's like, anyone can do it if you put the work in and just keep doing what you're doing, getting better at, you know, being the band and like carrying it forward kind of thing. Like it's a due process. It takes time and stuff. But like seeing your peers achieve this sort of stuff is like insane.
Yeah,
Really sick.
it's really awesome. Yeah, so I guess like we got 3 shows left of the tour now. Well,
We've got to, yeah.
two for you guys, and then we hit Cold Fest or whatever. So that's That's awesome. I'm keen for you guys to see like how Sydney goes for you guys as well, which is mad.
I'm real keen for that show.
Yeah.
I'm real keen for that venue. Like that should be awesome. Should be a great show. I've never been to Newcastle. It's my first time in Newcastle.
Never. Yeah.
Never before. So keen to see what Newey has to offer. Um, yeah. That let's see what a Thursday night in Newcastle
Has to offer.
has to
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah.
So see what it
It'll
looks
be
like.
interesting.
Halfway there now. Got the home stretch coming up. So it'll be good. Like after like this finishes, seeing what our band's doing, like where we sort of like cross paths again, like
100%.
down the track. I
Yeah.
think it'll be sweet.
I think it's like more shows, but more importantly, like making good friends from the tour.
Absolutely,
Even
man.
though we've only like known each other now for a few days or
Few
whatever,
days,
it's like it's that brotherhood. So yeah, keen to hear what's next for you guys.
you guys too, and like I hope that your album like sees all the success that it deserves, and you guys
Thanks, brother.
start getting real busy with it because that'd be sick. Like yeah, and I guess we just now like enjoy the rest of this tour.
Yeah, let's go. Let's finish it up well. Sell a bunch of merch, and I'm not sure when this video is coming out, but this comes out before Cold Fest or whatever. I still think there's a few tickets available, so pick those up and yeah, come out to a show. Come support Emmure as well. They've come a long way.
That's a nuts lineup, and you'd be remiss not to have a ticket to it.
Cheers.